So I had an idea for like a book talk topic, and I figured I'd go ahead and make a video on it before I forget about it. I'll probably occasionally do these once in a while, probably not as often as I have this time and the last time with the to be read pile. But anyway, enough babbling. So this topic is going to be not finishing books, and I'm kind of curious what other people feel about not finishing a book, like just feeling that it is not something you want to read and dropping it. And I'm just so curious about how people feel. So I started reading a little like a year ago is when I started seriously reading a lot. And I didn't have any trouble finishing any of the books. Before I really started reading, one problem I did have is I'd never finish books. This is like back in high school, college. I would start a book, I would read almost the whole thing sometimes, and I'd never finish it just because I wasn't into reading. So when I finally got into reading, I was really determined to just finish every single book I started. And then I finally had the first book I read that I wasn't into. It was a book I borrowed from my mom. I'll even tell you, it's the story of Edgar Sawtelle. I just didn't dig it. It was an interesting premise, but it basically is Hamlet retold, but with people who breed dogs. I liked the people breeding dogs thing. That was actually really interesting, and had it been its own thing, more or less, I would have really been into it. But, yeah. Anyway, I found myself really not into this book. I really wasn't liking it. And suddenly, I was like, I don't know if I can finish it. I got about halfway done, and it was becoming more and more painful. I was reading less and less every day, and I really wasn't sure what to do. So I told other people my predicament, and they pointed out the obvious. Why don't you just not finish it? Just drop the book. And to me, this seemed like something I could not do. But I did, in fact, not. I did drop it, and it was the best decision ever. Oh my god. I am so glad I chose not to finish that book. It was just not for me. And after I dropped it, aside from an initial feeling of guilt, I felt an enormous amount of relief, and I kept reading on and went on with my life. So, yeah, basically, I finally got past the not finishing a book thing. Now I'm curious what other people feel about not finishing books, like if it's like a big taboo or not. My personal feeling on it now is that if it's a book that I bought for myself or I got for myself and I'm not interested in it, I'm just going to drop it right away. The moment I know I'm not really interested, drop it. I figure I don't want to waste my time on books I don't like. Now, I do have exceptions, of course. If it's a book for book club, I'll try to at least read half. I also feel that in order to review a book, I should read at least half of it. For example, I did review Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, even though I hadn't finished it, but I had read like 60% of that darn book, and I think by at least halfway, you know how the book is. And if it does get significantly better at the end, okay, great, but I don't think that saves it as a whole. If a book is really awful or really boring or really anything negative for the first half, and it takes that long for it to get any good, it's not a completely great book in that case. Or, of course, I know a lot of people love Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, so I kind of have like a bit of an unpopular opinion there, but if it takes that long for me to get into a book and it's really long, forget it. I'm not going to waste my time. I have better things to do with my life. So I'm curious what you all feel about not finishing books. Do you go ahead and drop books if you aren't interested, or do you feel like this is a big taboo? You always have to finish a book. And how about reviewing? Do you ever review books you don't finish, or how much do you feel you have to read before you can actually review a book? And I'm just curious what other people feel. I'm wondering if this might be actually a big taboo, because I feel it was for me when I first started reading, so majorly curious. So yeah, I think that's about it for that topic. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope we get some interesting discussion going on with this one. Bye.